if you guys are interested to know if you have to be good in English to go to law school, then keep on watching. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Tina and I'm a corporate lawyer in the Philippines. So, since the inception of my channel, I've been receiving some recurring questions about certain topics on law school or law practice or the legal profession. In this Law School Frequently Asked Questions or FAQ series, I'm going to be answering some of those questions that I notice people frequently ask. The first topic of this legal FAQ series will be, as is obvious from the title, do you need to be good in English to go to law school? So, if you guys are interested to know if you have to be good in English to go to law school, then keep on watching. So, do you have to be good in English to go to law school? The short answer to the question of whether you need to be good in English to go to law school is a resounding no. However, that being said, being good in English is definitely an advantage. Let's get more into that answer. Being good in English is not required in law school simply because English fluency is not one of the requirements that you need to comply with in order to enter law school. To get into law school, all that's required is number 1, that you have completed a certain number of undergrad units required, and number 2, that you pass the entrance exam of that law school to which you want to apply. Nowhere there is fluency in English required. The next reason why being good in English is not required in law school is that I know people who were good in English who dropped out of law school. And conversely, I also know people who were not really the best at English, but still ended up becoming successful lawyers. Really, just because you're good in English doesn't mean that you're going to do well in law school. And on the flip side, just because you're not amazing or the best at English doesn't mean that you're going to suck in law school. Your law school professors aren't heartless. Aren't they though? They know that not everyone in law school is privileged enough to have gone to an exclusive private school. So naturally, not everyone has, top-notch English proficiency. And that's totally fine. So, we know that being fluent in English is not per se needed in law school. Having said that, however, there's no denying that being good in English is a great advantage. The law, which you will be studying day in and day out, regardless of what you're reading, whether it's your Codal, your commentary, or your textbook, your memory aid, is in English. Law school recitations, which happen every single day in law school and which are considered the way of life in law school, are conducted in English by default. Your answers in exams, whether they be midterm exams, final exams, or the bar exam, are in English. You memorize enumerations which are in English. You will have professors who will give oral exams wherein you naturally answer in, you guessed it, English. If there's a thesis requirement in your particular law school, then you write your thesis in English, and so on and so forth. So you see, English is really the language of the law. Like I said, in recitation, which will be your daily life in law school for 4 years, your professor will propound questions to you in English. As in, the professor shuffles your cards, right? Shuffle, 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 picks your card, Miss Amador. Then the professor asks, Miss Amador, under Article 1156 of the Civil Code, how is an obligation defined? Then you will answer, ma'am, under Article 1156 of the Civil Code, an obligation is defined as a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. Professors in law school rarely ever speak in Filipino. And on the rare occasion that they do speak in Filipino, it's only either, number 1, to emphasize a point, or number 2, to express something that cannot be sufficiently captured by the English language. Like, for example, saying, utang na loob. So, speaking English well is an advantage simply because English is the main means of communication, of interaction, of expression in law school. If you can speak or use English smoothly, then you remove one layer of difficulty when you're answering an exam or answering a professor's recit question. If you're fluent in English, then when you're answering a question either orally or in writing, then you don't have to fumble or struggle to find the correct English words which will properly convey your thoughts to your professor. You don't have to debate in your head before you even open your mouth about whether or not your subject-verb agreement is correct. Can you just need first time to finish this?
Ganda naman na sabi mo. Check mo naman. Magtagal. Ethic liner.
Okay. Relax. Before you speak up, you won't have to feel anxious about whether you will give the correct past tense of a verb or not. Do you see what I mean? When you're fluent in English, it's one less thing to worry about in law school. Instead of worrying about whether you're expressing yourself coherently and sensibly as you're speaking, your focus will instead be limited to answering your professor's question correctly. So for those reasons, you can clearly see how English fluency or English proficiency could help you in law school. So here are some tips for you guys who would like to improve your English proficiency. The first is to read and to expand your vocabulary. Now, when I tell you to read and to expand your vocabulary, I don't mean memorize all the highfalutin words that your brain can possibly absorb. In law school, keeping your answers short and sweet and simple and succinct is always best. What's the thing that they say? Keep it simple, stupid? Or the more sophisticated saying would be, brevity is the soul of wit. So you won't need those big words unless you want to join the law journal or the law publication of your school. But for day-to-day recitations and exams, law professors get really annoyed with run-on or long-winded sentences and flowery words and super verbose answers. They don't like that. So when I say read, I mean read so that you can pick up how to construct your sentences and how to express your ideas coherently and comprehensively. Read so that you expand your horizons. If you read and read and read, you expand and improve not just the way you speak, not just the way you write, but also the way you think. In the same vein, if time permits, then you can watch English TV series and movies. You can also listen to English podcasts. Hearing people speak in English helps you learn English skills as well. My next tip is to frequently practice speaking in English to your friends and family. You won't get better at something unless you consistently practice doing that thing. Improve your English fluency not just for law school, not just for law practice later on, but also for life in general. Self-improvement is always a good thing, right? The goal here is really to get used to speaking it so that your use of the language will be free-flowing and spontaneous. Because when you're reciting in front of your professor, then that's really how you want your English to be, free-flowing and spontaneous. The objective is really to make you comfortable with using the language. My next tip is that if there's something that you don't know the pronunciation of, then instead of shying away from that word and never using it, then look it up. See how that word is pronounced, and once you know how it's pronounced, then use that word and use it even more. Just type the word that you're looking for in YouTube, followed by the word pronunciation. For example, I used to be unsure of how this word, which I will put here below, is pronounced. I always used to be so confused. Was it president? Was it president? 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 Hindi naman. So I always used to be hesitant about saying that word because I didn't know how it was properly pronounced. So I just typed on YouTube president pronunciation, and once I found out that it was pronounced, yun nga, president, then I started using that word more and more. So guys, I hope I answered one of your law school FAQs about whether or not you have to be good in English to go to law school. The bottom line is that no, you don't have to be good in English to go to law school, but definitely English proficiency and English fluency are advantages. If you feel like English is not your strongest suit, then there are many ways to improve that. Remember that learning English is not unpatriotic, because just because you're expanding your knowledge of the English language doesn't mean that you're depleting your knowledge of the Filipino language. So that is it, you guys. I hope you learned something about law school in what is the first of my law school FAQ series. So that is really it, you guys. Let me know your other law school FAQs in the comment box below. If you guys have any further questions or suggested videos that you would like me to do, please also leave me a comment below. If you guys like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. Please also don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to hit the notification bell below if you guys would like to be notified of my future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and see you in my next video. Bye!